Yeah. Well, always great to get a win, and especially get a win at home. Can't ever devalue those situations. But there are a lot of things from that win that we feel like we can clean up as a program and as a staff. We kind of addressed some of that Sunday and then today with the players on Monday. The biggest thing right now is just some of our details are lacking from across the board. And it's not just the players, it's coaches as well. So we're gonna do some things internally to try to get some of those things fixed. And I think everybody's on board to get those things fixed going forward. They understand we have a good football team, but there are some things we just need to continue to fine tune. Offensively, you saw the penalties hurt us a ton on the other day, especially when you start talking about touchdowns being negated because of penalties and explosive plays coming back. Probably would have put us in a better situation to put more points on the board. Defensively, we got to do a better job on those third and long situations. Compliment to Mary Mag, they did a great job of executing at the end of the day. Those guys were hungry, they made plays. We just got to want it more in those situations, and that's a test to all those guys, not only from the back end, but also too just from the front line and the second level as well. Special teams did some good things. We end up kicker kind of came through and made a couple of field goals for us, but also to Cody Jones with an explosive kickoff return. So really happy for those guys. But once again, we felt like that kickoff return had an opportunity to end up in the end zone. So there's some things, like I said, we got to clean up the details, some internal stuff that we hope can help us get over the hump going forward.
Kai, you want to start us off?
Yeah, coach, apologies if this is redundant, but can we expect to see both quarterbacks play again on Saturday?
We're still assessing that, Kai. We're going to take a look at the film like we did the other day, and we'll watch those guys throughout practice this week. The Tuesday and Wednesday are our heavier days, so we kind of get on the grass and just kind of see how they adapt and how they digest the game plan that we got implemented. But both of those guys, they did some good things for us on Saturday. Obviously, Amari had 10 for I think 12 for 14, something like that, and had a touchdown pass. And then Dexter, he had a touchdown run as well. So really, really good for those guys. But the interception, we have to do a better job of protecting the football in that aspect. But also too, just the way they manage the game, some things down the stretch in the second half, we got to be a little bit quicker, a little bit more sense of urgency from across the board in that aspect. But both of those guys, played, pretty decent. So we'll just see kind of where the week takes us.
A couple of injuries. We haven't seen Danielius Johnson yet this year. Daniel Kinney missed Saturday's game, and then Rivar left the game. Looked like he was banged up there in the third quarter. Can you give us an update on the status of any of those guys?
Yeah, Danigas is kind of still, day to day. We're hoping, hope any day we could get him back. Don't know exactly when that'll be, to be honest with you. You said Daniel Kinney, we'll assess him this week as well. It's really a day to day with him. We're a little bit more hopeful that we can get him back by the end of the week. And then Lyndon, he's doing fine. He worked out today. He'll be ready to rock and roll.
Coach, first of all, if you could just talk about what jumps up out about Arkansas State, and then does coaching against your alma mater hold any extra weight to you?
Nah, it's just another game. That place was good to me and my family, to be honest with you. I said it before in an interview previously. I think in my household, we have about 12 to 14 degrees from Arkansas State University in some kind of capacity. My wife graduated with a doctor's degree 2 years ago from Arkansas State. So, a lot of history there, legacy there. My dad went there, mom went there. So it's a lot of history. Been through Jonesboro, Arkansas quite a bit growing up. But for the most part, man, it's just another game. It's the most important game because it's the next game, you know, really compliment to what they've done from a coaching staff perspective on the talent that they put in the building. You can look at the offensive side of the ball at Arkansas State. Their receiver core right now is really doing a good job of making plays. Everything kind of starts with their quarterback. Quarterback is dynamic. He can run it. He can throw it. I think he's probably one of the best quarterbacks, in my opinion, in G5 football. Just all the versatility he brings to the table. They revamped the offensive line. Those guys are physical. Played a physical game last week with Iowa State. They were right there in it. So very, very tough opponent on the offense side of the ball. Defensively, they're really good at all three levels, to be honest with you. They have some explosive players. That's one of the things that kind of continues to jump out at us. The D line is big and stout. And then they got some, because the linebackers, they have a core of linebackers that they like to rotate in there, in and out the lineup. And all of those guys, there's no drop off. They don't lose a beat with any of those guys. The secondary, we feel like, especially from the safety position, extremely physical. Those guys will come down, feel the alley, tackle guys. So there's not a lot of weak points on that team, to be honest with you. The number 16, he returned a kickoff return for a touchdown against University of Arkansas. So there goes another guy that you have to worry about just in the return game as well. So all phases right now, they seem to have some things figured out.
And last thing for me, Coach, you start the season back-to-back Power Four opponents, and then this past week you play an FCS school. Does this week feel like more of a true measuring stick to where you guys are at?
We always talk about, nameless great faces, and we talk about just taking a look at ourselves and just trying to make sure that we kind of control what we control and clean up the things that we have to. No matter who the opponent is, we really want to focus on trying to make sure we just play our style of football. That's one of the things, like as you look at the Merrimack game, FCS opponent, we felt like, hey, some things we kind of left on the bone out there, and we got to do a better job of cleaning things up. We feel like if we do that part, it really won't matter who the opponent is. We'll have a chance to be in every game if we just clean up our mistakes more than anything else.
Stan?
Hey, Coach, Jericho had another good game on Saturday. How would you assess the way he's played this year? And what do you think his ceiling is going to be before the year's over?
You mean Jericho?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. No, that's fine. Yeah, Jericho, he has some room to grow, right? Like he did a good job of doing some things and having a sack the other day. He's constantly continue to get better as a tackler on the defense side of the ball. But he did have a pass interference call the other day. So just some things, some details, some fundamental things that we have to continue to clean up with him. He's still a continual work in progress. He's a guy that's got a ton of talent, and we're super happy to have him. But just like all the guys in the back end, they're going to be challenged this week, and they gotta have their A game on and ready to play.
And last week, Christian Moss had another nice game catching the ball. How have you seen his season progress so far, and where is he at?
Yeah, biggest thing with Christian right now, continue to get better. And every day, the last game has nothing to do with this upcoming game. And those are the things that we continue to preach to him that he needs to understand that, we are going to target him because he's a good player and he deserves that. He's going to get people's attention because of his size and speed combination. But at the end of the day, like for his game to continue to evolve and for us to get better as a team, the good teams continue to get better week after week after week. They get stronger and stronger. And I think that's one thing we want to see him do with his game. We want to see every game, every time we turn the film on, he's consistently making contested catches, good plays where he's supposed to be. Can't have penalties like he had the other night to make those kind of mistakes. Just some things he has to continue to grow in. But so far, really pleased with his production after the Wake Forest game. He's put two nice games back to back.
Has he complained about the ball coming his way so much? I mean, he hadn't seen that many passes in forever.
Well, I hope not. Good receivers, they always are open no matter what the situation is. But, him and Gabe so far, they've been a nice little combination of being consistent for us catching the ball. We just got to continue to try to generate some explosive plays with those guys because a big part of what we do is generating those explosives down the field too.
And last for me, are you glad to get that first home game out of the way and kind of see what the energy level going to be like on campus from now on?
Yeah, it was a great first home game, first home opener with the students coming out and, just the naming of Dave Wallace and his family, the naming of the field. And, it was just so much energy around the whole stadium and so much energy around the whole program. I thought that was really great for our guys to kind of see. Dave Wallace has came and talked to our football team before. And, for them to get a chance to see him and now that field being named after him, that means a lot. I know that to Dave, but also to our whole program and our whole athletic department. But just the whole game day atmosphere from the band, from the owl walk to the student section, we just continue to encourage students to continue to come on out. That's going to be a big part of our success is that those students have to come out and support us. They have to have really butts in the seats more than anything else because I do think our department does a great job from the activities that go on during the game, just the game day atmosphere. My wife and the other coaches' wives, they got to just kind of see what it was all about, and everybody was thoroughly impressed.
Thanks, Coach.
Anything else for Coach? Nolan, you have a couple?
Yeah, I got a couple questions here, Coach. To lead off with, looking at some of the pass block grades, according to PFF, it's not always the gospel there, but it seemed to be pretty good pass block grades up front for your offensive line. What did you see in film review?
You know, got to clean up on some of the fundamental things. One thing Coach Clemens talked about was getting a little bit more back to the fundamentals of certain things as opposed to just the scheme. We felt like we was a little too schemey last week as far as what we're trying to do. You know, a lot of the holding penalties and things like that or legal procedures that we had up front really come from just small, minute details, especially when you talk about holding. You know, it was because a guy didn't take the right step initially or he got beat on the bad side of something from a leverage standpoint. So those things Coach Clem talked about all yesterday and today, just how we're going to clean some of those things up. You know, we don't really pay a lot of attention, to be honest with you, to PFF grades, you know, because we know schematically wise, there might be something different teaching that we're trying to get accomplished that, you know, PFF, you know, doesn't know about. So, but for the most part, those guys, they constantly continue the third game in a row. They put together strain, and that's what we're looking for. We wanted to reduce the missed assignments. We want to continue to increase the strain that those guys have up front to try to move me in.
Well, Coach, you heap some praise to Jalen Raynor, the quarterback for Arkansas State. How have you seen defenses try to defend his abilities through the air and on the ground so far in Arkansas State's games?
Really hard because he can do both. He can hurt you with his arm. He can hurt you with his legs as well. And there's not many quarterbacks in the country right now that's doing it at that level that he's doing it at from a standpoint of the ability to do both. I think one thing you got to do a great job of is protecting the edges and try to keep them in the pocket and keep them contained. From the standpoint of passing wise, you got to make them get to his second and third reads and do some things like that. And then lastly, you know, bring pressure at the appropriate times just to try to rattle him and get him off the spot at times. Just because, like, you know, if you let him stand back there like a statue, he can kind of dice you up and slice you up. So we just want to make sure, you know, we're bringing a bunch of different looks at him and we're presenting some issues that schematically that we may think can cause him some problems.
Well, speaking of that, the Kennesaw State defensive line did a really good job of having a variety of names, applying pressure and getting sacks and TFLs against Merrimack. Who stood out on film to you, Coach?
One of the guys that stood out the most, and I think it's because of his tackles for loss and where they occurred, was Marcus Patterson. You know, he had a couple of tackle for losses. He did a really good job when we were backed up, when they were backed up, coming through with some tackles for losses and really end up almost getting some safeties and putting them in some compromising positions. The energy that he came out there and played with, his physicality that he consistently plays with. Marcus is a big man that can move. And I think that's one thing that we love about him. You know, he's becoming more and more of a leader. We challenge him to be a little bit more of a vocal leader because he has the capacity to do that. So, you know, that is probably the guy that I would feel like, to be honest with you, you know, he brought a different type of enthusiasm and energy to our game on Saturday.
And then lastly, Coach, Arkansas State's Avante Dickerson. He's the cornerback. He's got interceptions back-to-back games. Led the team with 7 tackles. What do you see on film that impresses you with his skill set?
Ball hawk. You know, he's all over the field. He can adjust to the balls in the air. He does a good job of taking away, you know, a receiver from one side of the field. So, you know, those things right there, alone right there, you know, just kind of tell you the versatility of his skill set and all the different things he can do. A willing tackler will come up on run support as well. So, you know, we're gonna have our hands full. You know, all those guys that play on the outside